After my glowing review of number 4, I have nothing but unreasonable expectations for number 5. I'm glad to be playing it, but its release is bittersweet. You see, I spent a good amount of time completing my collection on a Nintendo console, and now I have to jump corporations. But being the fan that I am, I'm gonna go wherever Capcom leads me. So, keep on remaking that first one, because you know I'm gonna buy it each time.
Oh, I can't wait to play. This time around, you're Chris Redfield, the dude from the first Resident Evil. You're investigating the possibility of terrorism in Africa because apparently everybody who survived the Raccoon City incident got a promotion. Joining you is Sheva Olamar, or as we call her in the hood,
Damn!
Both of you are part of the BSAA, and you're after this guy named Irving. Now, he couldn't possibly be the main bad guy because, I mean, just listen to him.
I'm a businessman with standards.
He sounds like he could be Ramon Salazar's brother. The first thing you're supposed to do in the game is meet up with the Alpha Team, which I found myself laughing out loud at. Chris, of all people, should know that if you name your group Alpha Team, bad stuff's gonna happen. But back then, I just called him Freddie Prinze Jr., and Jill Valentine was Catherine Bell. And don't worry, Capcom didn't add Sheva as a love interest just for the sake of her being a love interest. They left it up to you to lust after her. Or you could refer to her as the Black Jill Valentine. The controls for this game are,
Perhaps I'm being a little unfair.
Okay, the controls aren't that bad. In fact, they're set up quite good and work just fine. It's just that when I first found myself surrounded by some Ganado, I wanted to point at their heads and shoot. And once you go Wiimote, you just don't go back. Wow, good job, Nintendo. If you couldn't tell from the previous statements, the gameplay is you fighting bioterrorism by going through a very long trail of zombies that can run. I think that sums it up pretty good. I know that a professional reviewer wouldn't spend time comparing Resident Evil 5 to Resident Evil 4, but I feel if I do, it'll make my job a whole lot easier. The graphics are stunning for its generation and will continue to look good for years to come. You still get money by picking up gold, rubies, sapphires, emeralds, and pretty much any other Pokemon game you can think of. But with the merchant nowhere in sight, I guess they just sort of manifest into new weapons and upgrades by Chris's sheer willpower. I found parts where it rips off Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones, still borrows from the Matrix just in a different way. New to the list is speed, and this kind of reminds me of Terminator and Episode 3, and thematically this borrows from Metal Gear Solid, and I'm getting really off topic. At one point you start shooting indigenous people, which I felt really bad for. Then I recalled not too long ago I was blowing the heads off of cult members in a Spanish castle, and, well, everything seemed a whole lot better. Listening to professional reviewers, I got the impression that they were expecting the game to be like the older ones. That makes no sense. They're finished with that. Resident Evil has to be taken seriously now. The only forms you're going to see the game in now are the third-person over-the-shoulder boulder holder action and light gun shooting. Both of which, the zombies aren't even all that bad. They just want some pants. I'm starting to see a trend with these helicopters in that they don't last very long. The characters would probably be safer if they were transported on grocery store scooters. For the longest time, I've always wondered how first aid spray works, and this game actually shows an example. It's like deodorant. Use first aid spray, because you won't get a date if you smell like the T-virus. Sometimes when playing this game, it feels like they just reskinned number 4 and ported the engine. I'm not saying that the mechanics are exactly the same, I'm just wondering why it took 4 years to strap a gun onto Ashley. Yes, that is a planned segue. Capcom has taken notice of Gears of War and how they've built in cooperative gameplay into the campaign. In Resident Evil 5, this is what we call the Sheva dynamic, or as we call it in the hood, I'd hit that twice and then need a bunch of Hot Pockets dynamic. My initial concerns with having an AI-controlled partner was that I'd have to manage 2 inventories. I soon learned that that was never going to be a problem since she never had any inventory because she wasted every last bullet I gave her. I tried to explain to her that I had to fight through 3 zombies to get those 2 bullets, but it must have fallen on deaf ears. Eventually, I just let her run out of ammunition, and when she asked for more, I said, "No, you have abused your privileges, now get resourceful." And much to her credit, she did. Later on, I bargained with her. I agreed to let her have all the ammunition she wants, and if I feel that she's necessary in combat, then and only then will I give her a gun. So she made a pretty good attaché case. And while I picked up all the gold, I let her pick up all the health stuff because she was pretty good about healing us. It was a great setup that never really sat well with me because I had taken the sassy, strong, independent woman figure and essentially turned her into Nurse Sheva. But if you think I'm sexist, just listen to how Chris treats her.
Take it.
Yeah, Chris, if you keep on using words like that, the HR department of the BSAA is going to want to have a talk with you. These zombies appear to be dancing. If you listen closely, I think you can hear the music. I was going to capture some footage of multiplayer, but due to time restraints, i.e. I never really got around to it. I guess it's about time to let you guys know that this game is not as good as number 4. It doesn't even come close. Beginning to finish, Resident Evil 4 was great, always engaging and never repetitive. However, in Resident Evil 5, about 3/4 of the way through, the game just sort of falls flat on its face, and when it stands up, it tries to ignore the fact that it has a bloody nose. There are 2 boss fights in the same chapter that consist entirely of you pushing the right button at the right time. There is so much quick time in the game, I almost expected it to be developed by Apple. And in another boss fight, you win by just running around for 7 minutes. This is not engaging gameplay. And at this point, Capcom has given the zombies long-range assault rifles and rocket launchers. Now this is to be expected in other third-person shooters, but in doing so, it inherits some things that I really don't like about other third-person shooters, such as absorbing bullets just across the room, and half the time I have no idea who's shooting at me. So again, good job Nintendo on accidentally bringing us the best Resident Evil experience ever. Don't get me wrong, Resident Evil 5 is a great game and you should definitely pick it up. And my only lingering concern is where can they take the franchise from here? Well, if you omit the online and the first-person shooter games, you learn that Resident Evil operates off of the rule of 2s, meaning their characters get to headline in 2 Resident Evil games. In the first one, we had Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield, and in the second one, we had Claire Redfield and Leon Kennedy. In Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, we have Carlos and Jill Valentine returning for her second appearance. In Code Veronica, we have Claire Redfield in her second appearance. In number 4, we have Leon Kennedy in his second game. And in number 5, we have Sheva joining Chris in his second go-round. Now all that needs to happen is Sheva joins up with Carlos to fight zombies in South Africa, and things will come full circle. You know, that plotline actually makes a lot of sense. Give me a call, Capcom. Oh, wait, Leon was in that Game Boy Color game. Okay, rule of 3s. I'm gonna count Chris in Code Veronica because, well, technically he was there. And then Carlos can go out on a date with Ashley and they accidentally end up at the corporate cafeteria of Tricell. And then, Sheva, Jill, and Claire can all join forces, their monthly cycles will align, they can bitch at zombies until they go away with the powers of PMS in a spin-off series called Resident Estrogen. And that is, oh f***, I forgot about Resident Evil 0. I'll just forget I even mentioned it.